Hi, Hi everybody. I think I'm on. I apologize. It always takes me a second to figure out, what's changed with Facebook Lives. But it looks like I'm on. If someone can hear me, if you'll send me a comment, or two, just to make sure that that everything's good. Um, Melissa, I see you. Thanks for that. We'll give everybody a couple of seconds here, but as we do so, the standard safety message before, please, if you're driving, don't watch this. You can listen to it, I suppose, as long as you're hands free and DOT legal and everything. But this certainly be recorded and saved, and that kind of stuff. So. One of the things that as we take another second for people to get on, if you will give us some insight on how often we should be doing these Facebook Lives. We don't want to, we want to have good content when we do it. We don't want to just do it for the sake of, have meetings for the sake of meetings, type of thing. But, if you feel like we should be doing it more often, please let us know and give us that feedback. So, Melissa, Teresa, Eugene White, Ray Parker, hi everybody. And then I'm going to comment on my hair. Here it seems a little floppy, back to the 1980-ish, type of thing. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'll keep working on that. So, all right, we've got some people on, so we'll go and get started here. There's a few things that that I want to cover, and again, comments and feedback, is welcome. The first thing is everybody should have gotten in their email, ironically, a Compligo permission form, which basically is just saying, hey, we are authorized to communicate. Tri-State is authorized to communicate with each of you as drivers and owner operators, employees, via text message or email. Okay, it's some new regulations, that's been passed, that requires, consent before it's a spam, it's all spam regulation, and so forth, So basically, and not to get too into details on what's going on with that, the major carriers, Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, they've been threatened by federal regulators that you got to control spamming, So this is one of the initiatives that they're putting out there is that, any entity that does more than, a couple of, text messages or emails, we do, want to get that consent. So that please check your email for a Compligo form, just saying, hey, yeah, I give consent for Roadmaster Group Tri-State to communicate with me via email and text. Obviously, if we don't have that consent, it's going to be hard for you to get your pay, info and some dispatch info and communication, that kind of stuff. But that's what's going on there. Michaeline, hi. Mike Sobieski. Melissa, once every 2 weeks is good. Consistent times would be helpful, though. Yeah, I agree. So every 2 weeks, okay, that's good feedback. What we do when you say consistent times, I mean that is one of the important things of it's kind of a social contract with social media. You should do it the same day, same time, where everyone can predict what's going on. What Cheryl and I have committed to do is do a Facebook Live on the last Thursday of every month. And obviously, sometimes that changes. Sometimes there's 4 Thursdays, 5 Thursdays, or whatever. We figured if it worked for Thanksgiving in November, maybe it'd work for Facebook Live. But that's the schedule that Cheryl and I are on the last Thursday, 1 o'clock Central Joplin time, of every month. In between that, as you know, we lost Riley, our social media coordinator. Chelsea's done a great job, of helping to fill in, but this isn't Chelsea's full-time job, and so, we do want to get, more Facebook Lives, where you can meet with Andy, our safety director, and even Leah and Donnie, and again, and Kyle in planning, and Stern and driver management, and Bruce and shops, and that kind of stuff. But we don't have someone, really to help coordinate that, right now, and so that's part of the challenge of that. But that's the standard schedule, Melissa, that Cheryl and I are on. Andrew, when did this email go out? That's a good question. I think yesterday. That's when I got the email. Is it yesterday or day before? So it's either. I think it went out Wednesday. It may have gone out Tuesday, but it's in the last day or two. Andrew. I got my complete form on that yesterday, I believe. So if it wasn't yesterday, it's the day before. But anyway, it's uh, yeah, Melissa, we want to do more. We just want to make sure we have good content as we do that, and we don't want you to get bored with Cheryl and I. Even though I know my floppy hair is highly entertaining, so we're still working on that. Okay. I want to talk about the economy a little bit. Okay, you guys are seeing it. You guys are feeling it. Our owner operators are seeing rates, different. Our company drivers are seeing miles, that are different. Guys, that's everywhere. I mean, it's we other Dasky opcos, which is all flatbed, was really started feeling it about 6 months ago. Our January was actually pretty good. I mean, it's in fact our January this year was better than January last year, and last year was phenomenal, right? Everybody knows that, okay? And as I talk about this, I'm fully aware that we have others that'll view this video. Some friends, some not friends. All are welcome. If I feel like I'm being vague, or if you feel like I'm being vague, it's just an awareness of that. But if you have any more specific questions about that, feel free to call me or Stern or JD, and we're happy to be more transparent with you, in a more of a one-on-one situation, type of thing. But the economy's slow, it's sluggish. I mean, it's off about 25%, and if I knew how to figure overall, I'm not talking about us. If I knew how to do a screen share, I'd show some graphs and charts and that kind of stuff. I'll do a better job of figuring that out. But it's software now. It's not terrible. I mean, it's we're doing well generally. Like I said, our January is good. Our February was right on what we expected to be. Our March, is a bit softer, and there's a couple of things, that impacts that. Of course, I mean, it's the overall economy and manufacturing and housing, we understand is off, and all of those kind of things. It's interesting in our world and in the DoD world, it's we're still getting our load counts, Russ, but we're not the only ones in the space, and Landstar in particular is really struggling, and so they're trying to get more trucks into DoD, and so the DoD volume is still okay, but there's way more competition that's in that space now. And then once you get there, the pricing is weird and complicated. How all of that works, and intentionally so, I think, for the DoD. But we can't control pricing. I mean, it's and there's a lot of companies that are going in there just because they're so desperate for freight. Really kind of undercutting rates. That kind of stuff. So listen, we've got really smart people. We've got really talented people. Looking at that. Addressing that. Frank and Kelsey in particular. Kyle and Vonda and our CSR groups. I mean, it's we've got a lot of really talented people. That watches it, monitors it, makes adjustments as we need to. But it's just kind of the state of the economy right now. I hear feedback from drivers saying, "Hey, Walmart is promising $400 a day." I can tell you this: Walmart was promising that a year ago. They're not promising that today. And there's so many fleets. There's so many. I mean, you're seeing a lot of big trucking companies, struggling. You're seeing a lot of small trucking companies going under. For those of you who follow the news, U.S. Express is, a pretty significant trucking company. They're struggling, and they were recently announced that they're going to be acquired by Knight and Swift. There. So that's the state of the economy that we're in. For those of you that are veterans, you've seen a lot of ups and downs. This isn't anything new. But we have a lot of drivers that's been in the industry 3 years, 4 years, and never seen anything like this, right? I mean, it's and this feels scary. This feels different. Listen, for the last 3 years was remarkable. I mean, it's just a different environment, than anybody who's been in trucking has seen for 30, 40 years. I mean, it's but just remarkable, but this is a little more normalish, right? I mean, there's supposed to be ups and downs, and so forth. I can promise you that the company is strong. I can promise you that the Roadmaster Group is very healthy. I can promise you that, that we are a key part of Dasky, revenue and production, but we're not gonna outperform, expectations by 20-30% like we have the last few years. I mean, it's we'll be, where we anticipate being, type of thing, give or take. So. Anyway, so just kind of want to talk about that a little bit. If you have any questions or comments, generally, go ahead and send them in. Obviously, if you have real specific questions and about numbers and everything, I can't get too deep into this, but give us a call and happy to help and work out or share info as we can. Okay, hey, John, it's Andy Lancaster and Cheryl. Thank you. Yeah, the email went out yesterday, so check your inbox for yesterday. Maybe perhaps check your spam if you need to. Teresa just finished her Complego form. Yeah, it's a real quick form. I mean, it shouldn't even take a couple of minutes. There, Andrew, you have the same haircut. I suspect you have a really good fashion sense overall, and I applaud you for that. Daniel and Ginger from Utah. Hi. It's always fun to see you guys. Melissa, when do you expect things to pick up? I don't know. I mean, it's now next month for us. There's a few things going on, and again, this is a public forum, so I can't get into all the details. There's a few things for us, that that's going to help out. Don and Sam and his team, are working on some projects, for sure that we think will materialize. But listen, I mean, it's the overall state of the economy is the economy. I mean, it's if I was smart enough to know when that would change, I mean, it's I make a lot of money investing, type of thing. But this is what we talk about, in-house and with drivers externally. I hope we save. I mean, it's for those that are biblically, I mean, I understand, the cycles there. Joseph, 7 years of good and 7 years of famine. No one's concerned about famine, but there's ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and we're probably due for a good 12, 18-month correction. Now I don't know that that's how long it's going to be, type of thing. We're in a unique space. We have unique customers, so we don't always follow the same, trends and as other industries, but we tend to, parallel them, in some ways, in some form. And again, this feels really, slow and bad right now. 3.5, 4 years ago, this would have been, yeah, this is a good week, but again, in comparison to the last 3 years, it's not as great as it's been the last 3 years, but it's certainly not, what we experienced in, 2016 and parts of 2019, that kind of stuff. So anyway. Scott, Melissa, so I don't know that's a good answer to your question, but I'm happy. Send me an email, and I'll send you some other, research and sites, that I follow, that we look at, and some other data, that'd be interesting to you. Okay, happy to do that there. So, the next thing that I want to talk about is, and some of you already know this, but we're in a season here where we're going to be losing some really valuable relationships, people that we care about, and and experience. Florence retired last week, and many of you know Florence. Vicky has announced hers as well. And then I don't know, we have a third person. I don't know if she's made that official an announcement yet, but we're among those three, we're losing almost over 100 years of experience and relationships and so forth. So it's I want to thank them, acknowledge them. For those of you who know Florence and Vicky in particular, please let them know your thoughts and best wishes. And I've talked about this before with drivers who are retired. I am delighted anytime somebody's able to retire, man. I mean, it's amazing to me that we all start work 40 years, but we all work to stop working, type of thing, right? So it's it is what I'm delighted anytime somebody can retire, so I'm happy for them. But it's sad to lose those relationships as well. It's kind of like summer, during when everyone scatters after school, type of thing. But anyway, Eugene White. Okay, again, I'm not going to get into your specific numbers, but I'll tell you this, Eugene. I mean, it's I know you and JD have been talking, about this. You're doing better than that, and I think it's a little not accurate or not fair, what you're representing there. So, if you disagree, reach out to me specifically after this. Okay, I mean, I'm a little, to be honest with you, I'm a little concerned about your comment, there. The veracity of that. Scott, any truth to Baggett taking some of the work? No, it's not true. I mean, it's and again, I can't get into specific details here. Scott, send me an email and I'll share some information with you. There. But again, it is there. There are more trucks in our space than there has been for many years. I mean, it's and because it's dead and flat other places. I mean, that's just, I get drivers, and I will tell you now, that we have drivers coming back, that, listen, we don't do everything perfectly. We don't do everything as well as we should, right? And some of you have gone frustrated and left, and to be candid, rightfully so. I mean, it's we didn't address and fix things as well as we could have or should have, and some of you left. But I'll also tell you this, most are coming back. I mean, it's not that great out there. I mean, it's and I understand that you're not doing as well now as you were a year ago, type of thing, and I know that some of you just aren't going to believe me, and you're going to have to go, check it out for yourselves. I mean, it's we have a long time owner operator that left us, a bit ago, went to Landstar. And a few months ago, they called, and said, hey, we'd like to come back, and say, hey, we're not bringing back owner operators right now, And they said, what's so bad? We'll just park our truck or sell our truck and just come back as company drivers, there. I mean, it's so I see a question here is well, Eugene, again, why are we hiring company drivers? Again, Eugene, I mean, it's you're a business partner, okay? You're not an employee. Customers are business partners. They're not employees, right? And so there's different. And I'm might get a little bit of trouble here, but everyone says they want honesty and transparency, right? And then I find, when we give it, they're like, oh, well, I'm offended. Oh, I don't really want honesty, type of thing. I mean, it's but the reality is our business relationships run differently, than our employees. We have a commitment to our employees. Okay, we also have a commitment to Dasky. We also have a commitment to freight and equipment and so forth that has to be made years and months, oftentimes, in advance. And I've talked about this before, Eugene. I mean, why do we continue to hire company drivers? Because we have empty company trucks. and we can't let them just sit empty. I mean, that's the bottom line there, right? So as long as we've got empty trucks, we have to fill them. I mean, it's and if Tri-State, overall, if RMG overall isn't healthy, it doesn't serve any of our individual business partners. I mean, it's Tri-State's got to stay healthy. RMG has to stay healthy. And we are, okay, but part of that is filling, empty trucks. Um, you know, Probably every single trucking company out there is shrinking, and it's and Eugene, I will tell you this. I mean, it's we have less drivers now, less trucks out on the road now than we did 3 months ago. Okay, and so again, it's um we are watching the business. We are evaluating where growth needs to be, where growth can properly occur, where it can't occur, type of thing. Eugene, you're an owner operator, you're a business partner of ours. We're trying to look out for you guys. If we didn't care about those things, and we just say, hey, any owner operator wants to come on in. But we're not doing that. Okay. I mean, it's we've had a freeze on other new business partner relationships for quite a while now, in anticipation of what's going on here. Eugene. So again, but as we discuss these things, it's we're going to be honest with each other. We're not going to ignore facts. And as much as possible, yes, it is emotional. I mean, revenue is emotional, finance is emotional, but we have to keep emotion out of it as much as possible, and just understand that it's we are trying to do everything that's good for you, as well for us. And again, excuse me, I'm gonna take some water again. There's no panic. We're not panicking. I mean, it's we are in pretty healthy, pretty good shape. It's just not as I mean, it's it's one of those things where we're still eating steak. It just may not be steak and lobster. Right now. I mean, it's we're still I mean doing very well, certainly compared to many and most other companies out there. But guys, I mean, it's especially business owners and independent contractors. If you haven't been reading the news and watching the economic trends and everything, then maybe you're surprised. But you shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's these are the things that the industry's been struggling with for months and months and months, and we've done weather things pretty well, and we'll continue to weather things pretty well. So anyway, Scott, there's no truth to baggage taking some of our work. Okay, I mean, it's again, like I said, send me an email, and I can share some info on that. Okay, I don't see any other comments there, but I want to go back to our driver management in particular, and Florence and Vicky, just please send your well thoughts. Some of you also know Bill Dooling. Today is his retirement date as well. Maybe it's tomorrow. I'm sorry, today or tomorrow. So for those of you who Bill Dooling, but we let's take care of each other. I mean, it's Teresa Porter does a meeting every Tuesday with her group and a couple of other departments, and one of the things that she always says, and that let's take care of each other, let's wrap our arms around each other, and support each other. I mean, it's there, and like I said, it's we're blessed to be in a pretty good place, there. It's just not red hot, like it was the last couple of 3 years, type of thing. So anyway, Daniel and Ginger, yeah, stay longer, work hard, spend less. Yeah, I tell you, it's and I know that the NORADs had an interesting decision to make, here recently, and they reached out, and were able to share some of our thoughts and insights, there. Listen, it's hard to know what the crystal ball is. Everybody's got their financial needs. Everyone has their financial wants. There. It's I'm not trying to give anybody life advice, or I'm certainly not a life coach or anything. But whatever data we have, we'll share it with you. Okay. I mean, it's and whatever we can do to support each other and each of you, we certainly will, and want to. So, Melissa, thank you, for your commitment as well. I mean, so it's like I said, we're not perfect. We don't do everything perfectly. Please, punch me in the face when you see something that we are messing up on, type of thing, and we'll get better collectively. So anyway. Rose, yeah, boy, I'm surprised it's only 12 years. Rose, been affiliated with Tri-State for over 12 years. It's the long haul that counts. Yeah, I mean, a good play on words. Long haul. It is the long haul that counts. And again, we got to look at averages, right? I mean, what's our yearly average versus our monthly? What's our weekly, type of thing, and hopefully smooth out the highs and lows. So anyway, Rose, yep, I got you. Long haul. Anyway, really do appreciate all of you. Let's take care of each other, and if you hear something that doesn't sound right, just reach out and say, hey man, is this right? I mean, I think you'll find, that we are pretty open and pretty transparent. Once in a while I get scolded, hey, you said too much. I'm like, listen, we'll take that chance, sometimes. So anyway, appreciate all of you. Be safe, please. We're pretty much towards the end of the winter season. This was a tough winter. Yeah, we had, some issues with the weather, and everything that, wasn't common. But let's take care of each other and take care of yourself. And thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.